Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to talk about something fascinating, the researcher's journey. It's this whole path full of really big decisions that basically decide who gets to see incredible new research and how they see it.
Okay, so picture this. A researcher, right? They've poured months, maybe even years into their work. The experiments are finally done, all the data's crunched, the paper is written. Whew. But you know what? That's really just the beginning. The next, and maybe most crucial step, is getting it out into the world. And that brings up this huge, fundamental question.
And this right here, this is the moment of truth for pretty much every academic out there. You've got all this excitement from your discovery, but then, bam, you run smack into the pretty daunting reality of academic publishing. Now what? That's the question that really kicks this whole thing off. So, the very first challenge is you're staring at this massive sea of thousands and thousands of journals. How do you even begin? Which one is the right home for your work? Who's the right audience? Which one has the right kind of reputation? Yeah, it's not a small decision, that's for sure. But luckily, there are some tools out there to help guide you.
Okay, so one of those tools is called Jane, and you can basically think of it as a matchmaker for your research paper. Seriously, you feed it the heart of your paper, the title and the abstract, and it works like this super specialized search engine, finding journals that have already published work that's kind of like yours. It's a really powerful first step to find a good home for your research.
So, you might be wondering, how does this thing even work? Well, it's not just some random guess. Jan is actually querying PubMed, which is this absolutely massive database run by the U.S. National Library of Medicine. We're talking over 35 million citations. So what Jan is doing really is comparing the unique fingerprint of your paper against this gigantic map of all existing science to see exactly where it fits in.
All right, so once you've got a short list of journals, you hit this huge fork in the road. And this next decision, man, it's a big one. It's going to define who gets to read your work and how they get to it. You've got to choose. Do you go the old school traditional route, or do you take this newer, more open path?
And this slide really breaks it down perfectly. The traditional path, think of it like a toll road. Big institutions, like universities, have to pay these massive subscription fees, and that puts all that knowledge behind a paywall. But the open access route, that's like a public highway. It just gets rid of those financial barriers completely, making the research free for anyone, anywhere to read.
Now, this whole open access movement didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It wasn't some abstract philosophical idea. It was a very real, very practical response to a huge problem called the serials crisis. What happened was the cost of journal subscriptions just skyrocketed. We're talking so high that even well-funded university libraries couldn't afford to get everything their own researchers needed. It was just totally unsustainable, and open access came along as a potential solution.
But here's where things get a little more complicated. Open access isn't just one single thing. It's not one road. It's more like a whole network of different routes, and each one has its own model. To help everyone make sense of it all, the community came up with this really handy color-coded system.
Okay, let's break down these colors. First up, you've got Gold Open Access. That's where the final article is free for everyone on the publisher's website, but the author or their institution often has to pay something called an Article Processing Charge, or APC. Then there's Green. This is where the author takes a version of their own paper and puts it in a free online database. They self-archive it. Now, Diamond, that's kind of the holy grail for a lot of people. It's free for the author and free for the reader, usually funded by institutions. And finally, you have Hybrid, which is, well, it's a mix. It's a traditional subscription journal that'll let you pay a fee to make your specific article open access.
So just like any journey, you've got to be aware of the potential dangers and roadblocks on the path you choose, right? Being prepared is absolutely key if you want to get where you're going safely.
And the first most obvious hurdle for a lot of folks is the cost. Those article processing charges, the APCs we just talked about, can a lot. We're talking thousands of dollars. So if you're a researcher and you don't have a grant that specifically covers publishing, that price tag can just lock you out of certain gold or hybrid journals. It creates this whole new kind of barrier, not for the person trying to read the research, but for the person who wrote it.
So researchers really have to be careful. It's not just about the cost. There's this other danger out there, predatory journals. These are these shady outfits that basically exploit the whole author pays model. They make big promises but offer little or no real peer review. And even on the legit paths, like Green Open Access, you can run into something called an embargo period. That's where the publisher makes you wait, sometimes 6 to 12 months, before you're allowed to share your own work for free.
Okay, this brings us to a super important point we need to clear up. Remember how we said PubMed is like the map that Jane uses? Well, finding something on a map is great, but it's not the same as actually being at the destination, right? It's not the same as holding the book. So where's the library? Where do you go to actually read the full paper?
The answer is a place called PubMed Central, or PMC. And this is the key difference you have to remember. PubMed is the map. It's the catalog that tells you a paper exists. Here's the title, here are the authors, here's a little summary. But PubMed Central, that's the library. That's the free digital archive where the actual full-text articles live, ready for anyone to read.
And we are not talking about a small local library here. PMC is enormous. It's like a digital Fort Knox of scientific knowledge. It holds literally millions and millions of complete full-text articles. This is the final destination for so much of that research that takes the open access journey. It's a public good built for the public.
So after going through all of that, the different colors, the costs, all these acronyms, you have to step back and ask, why? Why go through all this trouble? What makes this whole movement toward openness so incredibly important for science, and really for all of us?
Well, the benefits are just huge. I mean, open access literally breaks down the walls of the ivory tower. It means doctors, patients, policymakers, even just curious people can actually read the latest research. It speeds up science because scientists can build on each other's work right away, no waiting. And honestly, it just fulfills a basic common sense promise. If taxpayer money funds the research, then the taxpayer should get to see the results.
And for the researcher themselves, there's a very direct, measurable payoff. It's called the citation advantage. Study after study has shown that when an article is free for everyone to read, it gets read more, it gets shared more, and it gets cited more by other scientists. And what that means is your work has a bigger impact. And at the end of the day, isn't that the whole point?
And that really leaves us with this final, pretty powerful question, doesn't it? It kind of forces us to think about why we create and share knowledge in the first place. I mean, we live in an age where information can circle the globe in a second. So what barriers, if any, should we let stand in its way? The journey of just one research paper, it turns out, is a small piece of this much bigger conversation about how we, as a society, value and share the amazing things we discover.